Welcome to our second show of Talk It Out, where we dive into the latest topics of today that is affecting the Black church and our Black community. And we are glad you can join us. I am here with my co-host Miller, and I am George Gilbert, and we just want to dive right in. But before we start, I would wanted to know if Miller, if you had anything that you wanted to say to our audience.
Well, absolutely, Gilbert. I want to take this opportunity to say we are so excited that you are joining with us once again. Listen, we intend to really talk about it, the things that are going on in the African American community, as well as the Black church. Tell them what we're talking about today, Gilbert.
So our main topic today is the pulpit and politics. The
Mhm.
pulpit and politics. Many of you have ideas that they shouldn't intersect. Even we hear all the time there's a separation between church and state. But the truth is that our country is built on the church and politics and Reformation.
Mhm.
And our country has always had, especially the Black preacher, pushing the
Yes.
envelope for change. And so today we wanted to talk about how the Black preacher has a mandate, it seems like, to deal with politics and to deal with the social issues of our lives in the Black community. Many times, this happens in the white community and no one says anything. The Southern Baptists have always chose um, presidents, chose politicians. They've always called themselves the moral majority and have
Mhm.
always had a pulse on creating a platform for their interests. But the problem with that is that their
Mhm.
interests normally 100% of the time, it never is an advantage to the Black community and the Black church. It's always at a disadvantage. And so because of
Yeah.
that, we had to break from the Southern Baptists. I'm talking about Black folks who were Baptists, had to
Yeah.
break from the Southern Baptists. And we started to have our own denomination, the National Baptist Convention. And then we also had the Progressive National Baptist Convention. And that is also why AME was created, the African
Yes.
Methodist Episcopal was created, because uh, the the way that doctrine was handed down and being preached and being taught was slanted to a racist, bigoted society. And so
Yeah.
the Black preacher had to stand up and had to make the truth be told. And the truth be told is, number one, that Jesus is a Black man. Uh,
All right now.
and just that alone
Mhm.
provides some type of of radicalism
Mhm.
in the conversation.
Yes.
Just that alone. Now, to us, Jesus being Black is not radical at all.
Yes.
Um, but to the majority, the white evangelical, that is a radical statement that shakes their foundation.
Yes, it does.
And so throughout history, the preacher has had to have the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other hand, and was had to uh, be able to make the Bible come alive. I can hear the old saints say, "Make it come alive." Uh,
Mhm.
they would expect for the preacher to be able to to uh, to see what happened in the Bible and reflect it to what is happening in the life of America, in the life of society, in the life of the world. We could see how the Egyptians treated the Hebrews, and we
Yes.
can see how white Americans treated
Mm-hmm.
African American, Black,
Mm-hmm.
colored, Negro folk, however, whoever you want to call us. And
Yes.
so there has always been a parallel um, distinction between the Black preacher being the prophet of today, being
Mm-hmm.
the Jeremiah, the Nehemiah, being the
Yes.
Moses of
Mm-hmm.
today. And so when we talk about the pulpit and politics, we have to understand that we just can't preach or teach about salvation, and when we all get to heaven. No,
Yes.
we have to preach like Jesus prayed, "Thou kingdom come,
Mm-hmm.
Thy will be done." You want to add something to that, Miller?
Yes, I was thinking about what you were saying as you were talking, and I was reflecting. I mean, the Black church, the pastor in the pulpit, even back in slavery time, on Sundays, you had many slaves that couldn't read, and that was because that was the way that they intended for it to be. They didn't want them to be able to read, and sometimes the sermons were really codes that the Underground Railroad would be coming through. They'd do hymns, like "Still Away," "Swing Low," those kind of things that would let those that were listening know that, hey, freedom is coming through tonight for you, or someone's coming here. And so for me, as I think about the pulpit and the pastor and his role in that, I remember that even back from that time up to now, I can remember being a child, and my father was my pastor, and he would say, on Sundays when it was election time, or whatever was going on in politics in the city, and he would say, hey, we need to do this. We need to stand up for our rights. These are the things that we need to stand up for. You need to do this. He pushed education. He pushed civil rights. And as a child, I always thought to myself, well, my goodness, is he, and this was just me, is he a preacher or is he a politician on those Sundays? I would think to myself as a little girl, because I knew that my dad was, a pastor. But he came home on Sunday and he said, I'll never forget it. And you're going to say I'm name dropping, but I'm not. You love to say I name drop, but I'm not name dropping, Gilbert. And he had just left having dinner there in Birmingham. There were Jesse Jackson and them, and they were talking. And he said, we have to really get this voters league back up and going, and doing the things that it needs to do here in Alabama. And just for me as a child, I got to see my father really say, hey, things that are important to us as African American, things that are important to us, in the world, that it starts with the church. I'm the pastor. So the people that I am the shepherd of, I have to keep them aware of what's going on. And then I have to be the one there that says, yes, we need to do this. We stand for this, even the word of God. And a lot of the moral majority, as they call themselves, they are not for things that benefits us. And we'll know that, but for some reason, we won't want the church to get involved.
Let
We'll
me
say,
get
well, the
my
pastor shouldn't be involved.
Let me get myself in a
Hello,
little
we
trouble.
won't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The folk in the 70s and 80s, they
Mm-hmm,
loved Billy Graham. And Billy Graham would do the Billy Graham Crusades. And
mm-hmm,
every preacher, I'm sorry, every president at that time would have Billy Graham to come to the White House for a consultation and prayer.
mm-hmm.
And none of Billy Graham's ministry looked like it included the African American plight. And
Mm-hmm.
so throughout history, throughout American history, our presidents and our government has been slanted uh, towards white privilege. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's imperative that the Black preacher uses his or her influence
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that our people are educated on what is going on. We can't allow CNN and MSNBC to educate us. The
Mm-hmm.
prophet has to be able to hear from the word of God
Mm-hmm.
and then dissect the word of God into the lives of what's happening in our day-to-day our life. And so
Yes.
um, there is a weight, and some preachers I think may avoid being political.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, some preachers just and I would say a lot of times when we choose to go to white colleges,
Mm-hmm.
they don't help us or insert in us the
Mm-hmm.
need to be educated on the politics and to be able to insert your influence as the history of African American preachers. And
Yes.
so I think going to um, Black universities and seminaries help the preacher to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to navigate, to learn how to keep a watchful eye and to
Mm-hmm.
articulate and not be afraid. Here's the other thing. The preacher has to be free to talk, free
Mm-hmm.
to all we don't have a sword, we don't have a gun, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have we don't have anything but our mouth. And so the
Mm-hmm.
preacher has to be free to speak and not worry about being politically correct. You want to add
Yes.
something?
Well, I can speak to being a young pastor when I started out over when I founded Tabernacle of Praise Church. It's been like, oh my goodness, like 18 years ago now, and I was afraid. I'm just have to be honest. If we're being transparent, I was afraid to allow myself. I was already a woman coming into an arena that was really a male dominant um, what I felt, as a pastor. And I said, hey, I'm not going to stir the waters any more than that. And so when things came up, did I have a voice? Did I have things that I wanted to say? But yes, but I wanted to keep the members that were there coming. And I didn't, because you always, no matter, you can look out and say, hey, I think everybody's going to be this way. And then no, it's one or two that is directly the opposite. And you're going, oh, I didn't know that. And so for the young pastor, it's a lot of trying to figure out where do I fit in that narrative. I know it affects us, our families and our homes and who we are.
Mhm.
But you still have that fear when you come in because you're new, especially when it's a church plant and you
That's
want
right.
it to be successful. You want people to come. You don't want to be viewed as anything radical and out there. And so a lot of times you won't voice your opinion. And that's just real talk.
Yeah, yeah, and don't forget that we have in our organizations the gatekeepers who decide
Mm-hmm.
who can talk and who can hold positions and who can do this. And sometimes the folks who are gatekeeping they allow folks that aren't qualified to do the things that need to be done. And
Yes.
so how we have to, I believe, just begin to tear down barriers. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when I believe folks are looking for leadership from the church, folks are looking for leadership from pastors. Uh, I would say that every
Mm-hmm.
church needs to have a social justice ministry. Every church
Yes.
needs to have a civic ministry to be implanted in a neighborhood but have no voice in a
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood or community is a shame. My grandmother would say that's a shame for God.
Shameful God. Yes, it
We
is.
got to have a voice.
Yes, I can tell you, I grew up in Alabama. Okay. And so my father pastored a couple of churches there. And I can remember one thing just very in my mind. Here we have this pastor that has over 10,000 members, and you have another person that's in law enforcement saying, "Oh, yeah, I know him. That's Grant's boy," meaning my granddad, saying that my dad was his boy. And I'm thinking, I know he's not talking about my dad. My dad is a man,
Right.
and not just a man, he's a pastor, he's a man of the cloth. Who are you talking to? What are you saying? I got upset down inside, and I'm saying to myself, this is crazy. You're a man and he's a man. Why are you calling my dad a boy? And a lot of things growing up in Alabama, because it was so, even though they said, things, we were making a change and we marched and all those kind of things, it took a long time, and it's still in the process. For those that live up north, it's a little bit better, but down south, growing up, I can tell you, it's still, even when I go home now, it's still just a lot of where it's not equal. The quality isn't there.
I went to Alabama to visit my good friend, the pastor of Mount Moriah Baptist Church, and he was telling me it's just a little backwards. It's not the way it should be down there. But we have to keep preaching, keep teaching. It used to be. Let me see if I can get this right. It used to be what made a preacher famous was what he said, how he preached. Now what makes a preacher famous is how many members or how many followers he had.
Yes.
And that is, backwards. We have to we have to start saying something. I remember when George Floyd had got murdered, and there were riots everywhere, and I was watching it with my daughter online. I mean, on TV, and trying to explain to her what's going on, and they were showing all of the folks at the White House protesting, and she turned to me and she said, "Why aren't we down there?" And it did something to me. I immediately put my shoes on. I said, "Put your shoes on. We're on our way." And we left and went down there. And I think that's what folks are looking for the church. Not be on the sidelines, but to be involved in the protest, be involved in the fight, be involved. My favorite one of my favorite preachers always says, "Stay in the fight." He said, "Keep the faith, baby," and that was Adam Clayton Powell. Adam Clayton Powell. He was in the fight. He was not only a preacher, but he was also a politician in New York, and they in Harlem. I believe, the congressman of Harlem, and they would vote on him every year. And he had one of the biggest churches in Harlem, and he didn't make a difference between his ministry and his political life. He was working for the least, the lost, and the left out. And so I want to close this segment with Adam Clayton Powell saying, "We got to keep the faith, baby." That's what he would always say. Keep the faith.
I agree with that. We got to keep the faith. We have really been just talking here a little bit about different things, and we really haven't even jumped over into the hot topic. So I'll give you the opportunity there to go ahead and let's just warm us up there, Gilbert, with the hot topics.
I got a good one. I got some good ones, but I first want to start off with one that's a burning question. And
Okay.
the question is, are Black stars too quiet?
Mm.
Are Black stars too quiet? Now, let me preface this and then I'll turn it over to you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in the 70s and 60s, we saw athletes, we saw actors, we saw poets, we saw singers, all coming out for the building of the Black community. They would speak against racism, and really that is how, or part of how the Black Power movement began, because of the Black stars started to speak out, started to move the country conversation into a direction. Um,
Yes.
maybe it's me, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't see too many stars speaking out, and they are more chasing the dollars than they are about standing up for the community. When we look at Colin Kaepernick, it wasn't too
Mm-hmm.
many football players
Uh-uh.
that stood with him. When we
No.
look at the NBA, they did something for a
Mm-hmm.
couple of games, but you don't hear folks except Kyrie Irving, and they almost uh, hung him from a tree. When you
True.
look at actors, I-
Mm-hmm.
they'll, I hear Jay-Z and Beyonce throw money out, and they may pay for somebody to get out, but I mean vocal, not just behind the scenes. And I know we need both.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then singers and
Mm-hmm.
poets. We had Maya Angelou. We had,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I just don't. And maybe again, maybe I'm just not listening to the right in the right places, but I just don't hear or see our stars being adamant for the community that they've come out of.
Well, I think some of it is that when you look back on what was going on in the era before, they were stars, and they may not have lived in the community where we lived, but they were still experiencing a lot of the things that were being experienced in the community. It didn't matter that they had money; they still had to go through the back door. They
Hmm.
still, you know what I'm saying? They couldn't, certain things they just couldn't do. So they were stars, but they were being treated the same way that we were being treated. And I
Got it.
think what has changed is that now there's even more money, and some of those things that um, were experienced by our people and still are being experienced, but not to them, because it's not right in their face and it's not happening to them every day, then, out of sight, out of mind. And so I think it's some of that. And then I think it's also wanting to land certain roles or to be a part of certain things. And so, hey, they think to themselves, I'm one person. So it's not going to matter if I don't do it because somebody else can do it. Not realizing that it takes all of us together. When they see that, hey, the stars will do it, the actors, the athletes, they're concerned about their community. When they see that, then they'll say, it doesn't matter what we do. The African American people, they're going to stick together. They're going to make
Mhm.
sure it doesn't matter how much money they have, what job they have, what position they have, they're going to stand with their community. And I think that's what we could count on before, is that it didn't matter if they were, the top boxer here, or they were the top singer or top star. They were a part of the community. They felt an obligation. It was something inside of them. They had an obligation. They felt obligated to help their community. And I just don't think a lot of the ones that are stars now, especially the younger group, um, they have more of an entitled kind of mentality, and it's about me and my three. And so they don't really put the whole community in that arena of, hey, this is something I've got to think about, or I've got to be concerned about. Somebody else will do it, or I'll wait till it's a big enough issue, then I'll jump on board. They don't want to be the starter.
Let me say we welcome your comments in the chat as well
Mhm.
as we talk about these hot topic issues. What I'm hearing from you, and I'm just while you're talking, I'm thinking there's two type of issues in this. One, those who may have reached a certain status have isolated themselves from the struggle, isolated themselves from the hurt, isolated themselves from being involved in hurting people and suffering people. And then the second type I think I'm hearing is that those who are not willing to rock the boat so that they can get to a financial status or a place of comfortability.
Yes.
And I think what you said makes sense about uh, they're not experiencing still having to be segregated. They're
Mhm.
not experiencing quote unquote the racism in your face, uh,
Mhm.
even though they are, but they're not willing to see it, or they are ignoring it.
Yes.
But I do think that comes back um, to how one was raised. Because
Mhm.
if you were raised, and what I want to say, and don't get this wrong, if you was raised black, you're gonna
Mhm.
stay black.
Mhm.
You're not gonna be a sellout.
Mhm.
And I just think, especially at a time where we're trying to make sure that we don't experience another 4 years of Trump,
Mhm.
that we need all hands on deck
Yes.
to be working and saying something and influencing. We started talking about the preacher being an influence, and now we're talking about our political. I mean, our stars that can also be an influence, and we
Yes.
need everybody. We need Lottie Dottie and everybody to
Yes.
be an influence in against racism and for the advancement of African American communities.
I
Do you have
agree.
anything else you want to share before I move to the next?
No, I don't. I think you covered it all. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I guess maybe the one thing is that we have to remember that it's about all of us. To whom much is given, much is required. So
That's
when
right.
you're the one with the much, then guess
Yes.
what? There's a lot required of you to help your people. Yeah.
Yeah. My next hot topic. I think we warming it up now. The next
Yeah,
hot
we did
topic
more. It's been a sizzle.
is I entitled this "Music Just Ain't the Same."
It ain't. Yeah,
Music
it
isn't the same anymore.
ain't.
I'm embarrassed. I don't know if you. I know you saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, fire baptized, got a
Amen.
mind to run on the sea. What the end is gonna be,
On my way
and
to heaven,
that's
Jesus.
right. That's right. That's right. I see the halo. Uh,
Mhm.
but by any chance, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but did you see the BET Awards this past time?
I've seen him a few times. On this time, the year before that,
Oh, I
for y'all
was
that don't know, wait a minute. I'm an international gospel recording artist as well. And so, yes, I watch the award show. I mean, just all into
absolutely.
them.
Absolutely. And we both have a background in music. I play a
Yes.
little bit. You know, when
Hmm.
your parents are preachers, you got to be
Hmm.
the custodian, the usher, the
Everybody.
trustee. Yeah. So we do have a music background.
Yes.
If you need us, just call us. We'll be there.
Hello. Hello. For a small nominal fee,
A little
honorarium. Okay,
cha-ching,
go
a
ahead.
little cha-ching gonna have to come with
Yes,
it. Uh,
honorarium. Okay,
but
go
I
ahead.
was I was embarrassed with the presentation that
Hmm.
our young artists gave to the world during the BET Awards. Number one, with the way they were showing their bodies.
Hmm.
Um, I just can't get into it because I have a 17-year-old daughter, and
Mm-hmm.
I would never allow her to dress the way they're dressing. But the
Mm-hmm.
second part is the content that
Yes.
they're given to as a presentation of art, and
Mm-hmm.
it has no value to our culture. It is, I'm used to hearing Bobby Womack, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to hearing Keith Sweat, and Albie
Mm-hmm.
Shore. I'm
Yes.
used to hearing Anthony Hamilton. If you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about rap,
Yes.
Common. I'm used to hearing Public Enemy. It had some value
Yes.
to it. Now we have
Mm-hmm.
drill music that's just talking about folks that got killed in the community. We have uh, Megan Thee Stallion
Mm-hmm.
talking about how sexual she is. We
Mm-hmm.
have Cardi B who
Mm-hmm.
talking vulgar. Uh,
Yes.
we have we have just all the little Dirks and little everything is about
Mm-hmm.
money. Rick Ross, just how big his mansion is and how many
Yes.
cars he have. It's no value. Really, all you like is a beat
Mm-hmm.
um, and a bass line. But when you dissect the words, it's bad.
Yes,
It's
bad. It's
I'm,
bad. A lot of it
I went
doesn't
on a
make
little
sense.
rant there. I'm sorry.
No, and it doesn't make sense. And some of it, when they're talking, if you were not, first of all, some of the artists assume that everybody was raised in a hardcore kind of situation that's
Mhm.
listening to the music, and everybody was not. And so some of the things that they will, have, I know the younger generation, they have their thing, the middle generation, the older generation. I know that we all have a way that we feel about music. But the one thing that I loved about music, being a writer and being a singer, is that it came from the heart, and then it was meant to have a meaningful message. And
Yeah.
for me, like you said, there's just not a meaningful message. I don't want to hear about if I shake it low to the flow and drop it down, and and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to. I don't want to hear that. That's not a meaningful message to me to receive. What even with love songs, they're not the same. None of those things. Everything has totally changed, and it's more of a staying popular. So if this one is doing drop it low, then I got to do it. The next person that come at got to do it to the floor, and then the other one's got to slide across the floor. So it's more of a thing of just trying to top what the other person has done, rather than saying, "Hey, let me make some meaningful music." Now I know we'll have some young folks that are probably tuning in and say, "What in the world are they talking about? This music relates to me and what I'm going through in my life and all of that, Chance the Rap and all those people, but when I listen to the music, I'm going, what in the world is going on here? You have one or two that will do one or two songs, and then they'll
Mhm.
come back out with something where you're like, what happened? I thought you were, going in a
Now,
different direction.
now, I haven't recorded with a company. You have.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that is um, the 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 folks that's backing the rapper or backing the artist to force them to go into a ratchet direction, or a non cultural direction? Is are they being pushed to
They're being
just
pushed.
be in the
Now it's
gutter?
it's a whole. I have to tell you, it's a whole industry. So from the time that they sign you as an artist, then they start with developing you as an artist. So what they do is they tell you how to dress once you sign that contract, how to dress, what to look like, what songs you're going to sing. They'll sing you several songs, but usually they're in the way that that they're trying to steer, the direction they're trying to steer you in. And for me, when I was in Italy, because that's when I first got signed by an international label, they wanted me to wear blonde hair, and they wanted me to just they wanted me to sing, I mean, just some really crazy techno songs. And I told them, I said, hey, I'm probably not going to, even though, I had a voice better than a lot of the ones they had there, I'm not putting on a blonde wig, no. So it's a thing about, they're going to try to push you. They have this idea, this concept of what you can be. But you as the artist, you have to be willing to risk everything and say, hey, I am not doing this. You're not doing that, because
So
you're
a
not
lot of
just
times,
representing yourself, you're representing your family too.
right. I was gonna say, so a lot of times these folks are trying to get their mama out of apartment or Section 8, or like you said, in Alabama and
Mm-hmm.
wherever. And so
Mm-hmm.
they are willing to, like you say, take a chance or take a stand. But
Yeah.
I just think that we are better than that. And let me make a twist on this conversation.
Okay.
When I look at what Kirk Franklin is presenting, the music sounds good,
Mm-hmm.
but what he's presenting and gyrating
Mm-hmm.
and that, if you cut the music off and just play the video,
Mm-hmm.
you would not know if it was him singing uh, for the Lord or him singing for the church. And there has been a twist on the radio. They don't
Mm-hmm.
call it gospel stations now. They
No.
call it something else. They call it like a spiritual movement or spiritual songs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Gospel has been affected by this. It looks like when I see Kirk Franklin dancing on stage, I'm saying, first of all, you got on some tight pants. Uh, that some could think of as vulgar. You
Mm-hmm.
have on a shirt that's see-through or
Mm-hmm.
netted. You want to show, are you selling the song, or are you selling sexuality?
Mm-hmm.
And so it bothers me. And as a musician, a
Mm-hmm.
church musician, it's hard pressed, because sometimes the folks want to hear this music, and you're like, I don't want to just play this because you want to hear it. I want to make sure it's centered around the name of Jesus.
Well, the issue is that gospel music has changed from being church music to industry music, and so they're
Mhm.
no longer just fulfilling, church, making music that you can sing at church or that we may be able to do at a concert. No, they're trying to do music that will be charted, just like the music that's being done in the R&B and those in the rock and all those different areas. So they're wanting their genre as well to be up there with theirs, making billboards and those kind of
Mhm.
things, because the higher you're on those different charts, then the more money you're making. So it's based on, now, because everything's on platforms, it's based on how many spins you get of everything,
Right.
meaning how many times somebody clicks on your song. So with that, if I'm only seeing you, once or twice a year, saying a gospel artist, then during that moment, I'm trying to make the most of that moment, because all of a sudden I need to be at the level of those that are singing R&B, those that are doing rock and roll and those kind of things. So I'm being pressured by my label for me to not just perform, but hey, push the envelope. Because if you
Right.
push the
Right.
envelope,
This
you're going to
this
get
is
the
what they like.
young one.
Right.
Yeah, this is what they like. The young ones want you, to do a little bit and twist your hips a little bit and those kind of things. because that will cause them to begin to listen to the music. You'll bring them over, where they'll cross over and listen to your music as well. And so a lot of times I agree with you. It can be very confusing when you're watching the concerts and things like that. The music gets you hyped up. The beat gets you, going. And the next thing they're doing these things. And if you don't watch it, you find yourself trying to do it. They was doing the hand. And I was like, well, what's the hand thing about?
That's the Millie Rock. That's the Millie Rock.
That's what's it called now? Well,
the Millie Rock.
I'm not a dancer. You can tell because I was like, I want to do my hand.
I see the halo. I see it. I
was like, what is they doing with the hand thing? And then I thought to myself, what in the world? I should not be trying to do whatever this is because first of all, I can't do it. Right. And then, but it made it feel acceptable. That's where the deception is coming in from the enemy. It gave the appearance of acceptability to those that may not be saved and are seeking Christians to think that, hey, I can do all this stuff. The same dances I'm doing in the world, I can do them in church. This gives me permission to do it because Kirk Franklin was doing it.
Let me just say as a disclosure, I am a contemporary musician. You know, you come to my church, you're going to get some old school, but you're going to get some contemporary too. Yes. But it's going to be holy. Yes. It's going to be holy. And I think the Bible says you try the spirit by the spirit. And sometimes I just don't feel like some of these folk are in the spirit. And even I thought about it. It's called contemporary. No, it's not contemporary. I can't think of it. But you listen to the words. Some of the words don't even have the name of Jesus in them. Some of the words don't. It's almost like it's just meditation music. There's no Bible in it. There's no name of Jesus in it or God in it. It's just inspirational, and that's what they're pushing.
But that's by design. That's by design. You have to understand the industry. That's by design from the label, because once you're signed, okay, you make your money from the label pays you. So basically, this is your job that you're doing every day, okay? And so if the label only gets 100 spins for you or whatever, they're going to be talking about letting you go if you only get 100. But if they do, you may be getting maybe a half a penny of that dollar that they're getting. And so you're as an artist, when that's your sole source of income, you're just like, okay, I got to do what I got to do. So it's not like I'm not saying Jesus. I'm saying that, I feel you, inside of me, raising me up, those kind of things. How bad can it be?
Right.
So it's like their job. And once it becomes their job, rather than their ministry or their testimony, then it takes on a whole different form because now it's a need to make their money to be able to live.
Right. Maybe that's why I'm broke. I don't know. Let me move on.
Okay.
Trump said black jobs. He said that the immigrants are coming over here taking black jobs.
Black jobs.
And, folks thought that that was okay to say in the Republican Party. But what is a black job?
It's so funny you said that. My husband and I, we were riding to the store, and he was saying to me, he said, he and I were talking about the presentation we have to do tomorrow, and he was saying, Trump keeps talking about black jobs, and he said, the same question you just said, what are black jobs? And we talked about it some. And then here's the thing. He's assuming that jobs like at the McDonald's, this is what he's so that we'll know exactly what kind of black jobs he's talking about. He's talking about.
I think it's worse than that. I think he's talking about being Molly maids and things like that.
Yeah, I think he's talking about that more, and so what he's forgetting is that this new class of African American, and meaning our children, meaning us, meaning the generation before us, we're educated just like they're educated. We're educated. There's no such thing as black jobs, or it's a job. Okay.
Right.
Anybody that would do an honest day's work for honest day pay, I celebrate them. So that thing
Absolutely.
about a black job, he doesn't know what a black job is. Anytime a person says, my father gave me just $1 million to start my business and to
Just
go out,
1 million.
what are you talking about? That doesn't happen, sir. That's in that 1 to 5% of people that grow up. Everybody else, no, you get a regular job. Even when you're in college, you get a regular job and you're working to get towards something. And then I dare you insult those that want a better life, that are coming over. Every wife that you have comes from somewhere. Okay, stop it, Tanya. Anyway, the issue is that it's insultive. It's insultive to us as African Americans, but it's insultive to other minorities that he's saying are trying to take the job. They're not trying to take a job. We become educated.
The bigger context of this is how he thinks about black people in general.
The
Do you
blacks.
remember?
We're the blacks.
You remember when I believe it was Haiti had a hurricane or tornado wiped them out. He called it a trash, and he used some type of curse word, trash country, and 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 so anything that deals with uplifting of the black diaspora, the African diaspora, he has no value in, he has no concern in, and he's going to put it down and do the absolute minimum just to say that he's saying these lies that he's helped HBCUs. He did not. He took it out.
We were broke. We were broke.
Right. And so my question to our audience is, how can any of us vote for a man who believes that there in America in 2024 that there's still black jobs?
Black jobs. Yeah.
That is racism at its worst. And I'll close with this. We're winding down, and I know that you have some churches and ministries that you want to highlight. But I want to close with just talking about mental health, being aware of your mental health. All of us, we are not the same every day as it relates to how we feel, how stressed we are, how we're handling life. Some days, if one more person says another thing to me, I might just lose my mind, right? And there are days when I can handle everything. But I have to be aware, especially dealing with people, of where I am with my mental health. I have to be aware when I need to talk to someone, when I need to call someone, when I need to keep my mouth closed, when I need to get out of a situation, when I need to leave, when I don't need to answer the phone. We need to be aware of our mental health, and it's okay to talk to a therapist.
Yes, it is.
It's not bad. It's not a stigma. A therapist can help you navigate your life, help you navigate your problems, help you navigate your thoughts. So I just wanted to just stop here with saying that we have to take our mental health serious and begin to be aware of how we're feeling that day, and knowing our triggers, knowing how to handle them, knowing how to handle our mind and our actions. Would you like to add something?
Yes, I agree. That the thing is that there has been a stigma surrounding saying that I need help. I'm not processing or dealing with this well? Who can I call? We've been made to feel like we're weak. Why can't you get it together? You might be the crazy. We'll say things like, oh, he crazy. Oh,
Right.
she
Right.
crazy. Rather than saying, hey, we might want to refer them to someone to find out what's going on with them. Do they need medication? And a lot of times the sad part is it's hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that go on, but there's so much medication, there's so much therapy out there that can really help us. Case in point, I've been like really real and transparent on our show. Back in 2020, when COVID was out, my 98-year-old grandmother got COVID, and my mother went to take care of her. And my mom had just retired from being a principal, and she was 75 years old. And my grandmother died from COVID. My mother got COVID. 2 weeks later, my mother died from COVID.
Wow.
And so, and I was there taking care of her, nothing but the grace of God. I came from, DC, and went there to take care of her, nothing but the grace of God that I didn't die from it. I mean, it was so real. I have to tell you, Gilbert, that the clothes my mom intended to wear to her mother's funeral turned out to be the clothes that she got buried in. So that was a real for real moment for me. She died right there at the house in my arms, me calling, 911. So that was like a real, just traumatic thing for me. And I would, wake up like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? My brothers and sisters like, oh, y'all right, sis, my sister. And, you go on with life and you say, yeah, I'm okay. But when I got back up here, I wasn't okay. I was having nights and things when I was like, oh my God, mom, I felt like, I was cracking up. And I said, you've got to get yourself some help. Just do it. And I got on the phone and I called someone and said, hey, I'm really going through, and I'm a pastor. And I said, I am really going through. I don't know what to do here. I feel like I'm losing my mind. And it helped. I did the counseling for almost a year, and that was of a benefit to me, because it was a point in my life when I just didn't know what to do. But, I had those that said, girl, you just going to breathe. You need to cry it out and pray it out. And no, I needed to talk it out too. I needed somebody to tell me what to do. I needed some medication to help me sleep at night when I couldn't go to sleep. And that was one of the best things that I could have done. You better hear me, people, that I could have done to get myself back in a healthy mental space.
Let me say this, because there's somebody who's listening, watching. You're self-medicating right now. You are you're going to the bar, you're going to the liquor store, and you're trying to drink it away. Somebody is smoking weed, trying to smoke it away. Somebody is even snorting some coke, trying to heal. And let me tell you that you can give it to God, and God will be there. But God also gives us professionals. He gives us preachers and pastors. He gives us doctors. He gives us therapists. He gives us all that we need to get through the pain that we have and the trauma that we have. And so I want to just encourage you. Yes, we start with God, but we don't end with God, because God has given us a line full of people who are in the service industry, who will help you through whatever. I make it a point that if someone comes to me, that I don't try to diagnose them and try to tell them, if you just do this, if you just have faith, that you'll be healed. Yes, you can have faith, but guess what? The Bible says faith without works is dead. And so some of the work that needs to be done for your healing may be to get diagnosed, maybe to go get therapy, maybe to go see somebody. And so I just want to encourage you. We're here today to encourage you if you are hurting, if you need some help, find it. Don't just sit there and drink it away. Don't just sit there and try to drink it away, try to drug it away. But come to the church, come to the preacher, and also you can call your insurance company.
Yes.
And tell them that you would like to see a therapist.
Yes. And they'll make it happen. I have to tell you, you said take it to your preacher, my pastor, and everybody know I love my pastor, the Reverend Dr. Bishop O.D.H. Hines. That's my pastor, licensed and ordained me. And I tell you, he said to me, daughter, he said, get a therapist. We're going to pray, and I'll stay on the phone with you, while you cry. I knew your parents, great people, servants of the Lord. I think the hardest part for me is that they had served the Lord their whole life, and how, kind of went at the end. But, and even as a pastor, you have those moments where you're like, I can't believe this, what's going on? And so you question some things, you do. And my pastor sent me, he said, this is a good Christian therapist that I think will be able to help you. But it helped me that as a pastor, I had another pastor that I could say to them and say, hey, I'm going through something here. We're losing my mother. And for them to say, let's get you some kind of help where you can. And it didn't take away from who I am. It didn't take away from nothing about what I do, who I am in God. None of those kind of things.
That's right.
It helped me. And so for whoever's listening in, it will help you. I can tell you from experience, it will help you.
That's right. Now, listen, I know that we're going to transition into your segment of highlighting ministries that are doing great work. And let me just tell the audience that if you would like for your church and ministry to be highlighted, you can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with Miller, who handles the opportunities to highlight church. Now, if your church ain't doing anything, we're not gonna highlight you. We ain't just giving shout outs. But if you are doing great ministry work, you can get in touch with us, and we don't mind highlighting the ministry work that you're doing.
Yes. If they're looking at us right now, you see that scan me. You can scan that, and it will take you over to Talking Out with Gilbert and Miller. And when you go over there, you can send us a message. You can contact us, and we will be more than happy. Just make sure that you include some things that your church is doing that's making a difference in the community. Okay, I don't want you to write on there, my pastor is good. My pastor is so-and-so. He is good. And we'll say, yes. Say some things that you are doing, because we're highlighting things that are supporting the Black community, as well as great things that are coming out of the Black church. And so we want to make sure that we're doing this. Listen, this week I had the opportunity, and I'm not really even going to go over nothing but one more other than this, to go over to, and I just have to say this, to Pastor Bennett's ministry. It is a good success. They are good success. They are doing some great things. I went over there. Lady Bennett met me and my husband, Pastor Troy, right at the door. Reverend T. Welcome Miller Jr. And we were just blown away. People, the way they have it set up, they have the people to greet you there when you come in. They take your information. They have all this food. I'm not talking about crazy food, just canned goods. They got meats and all kind of stuff. It's like being at the grocery store.
I think they do a meal distribution every week, I believe on Tuesdays.
Yeah, they do on Tuesday. And you come in, and then if you need prayer, they're praying for you. You go down, there's a team that's there to pray for you, clothes and things, if you need clothes and things to wear. But not just that. If you come in and you have a drug issue and you want to get help, right away, they can get you somewhere. If you're homeless and you need a bed somewhere to sleep, they have a connection with people where they can get you a place for the night. If you're having mental issues, they can set you up with a place where you can go in and they'll see you right away. And it's not that I haven't been involved in those kind of things. It was just still so wonderful to see in the African American community, from the African American pastor, he and his wife and the ministry there, that they were having good success and they were helping those within our community. It was such a blessing just for her to, Lady Bennett, walked us through the whole process, and it was great. We were there, prayed for some people, got to see things going. It was just a blessing. I really
that's Good Success Baptist Church, Pastor William, I believe it's H, but William H.
Bennett. And he's up there
Washington,
off of
D.C.
Sheriff Road. He's off of Sheriff Road there, Washington, D.C. And then we have one more, and then we're going to close it out. Union Temple Baptist Church Community Services. They're located in Washington, D.C. Listen here. See, he knows Pastor Wilson. Union Temple Baptist Church offers a variety of community services aimed at addressing the needs of residents in Washington, D.C. Programs of the food pantry, the clothing drives, health screenings, educational support. The church is committed to providing essential resources and services to underserved populations, promoting social justice and enhancing community well-being.
Now, Pastor Wilson, the father, Pastor Willie Wilson, who's retired now, turned it over to his daughter, Anika Wilson. Pastor Wilson and my dad were good friends, and she and I went to elementary, junior high, and high school together.
Oh my goodness, the PK kid.
Yes, so we are connected at the hip.
Wow. And so, and I didn't even know that. Now you can say that I didn't even know that when I had selected them. And so it's amazing how God works. And so they are doing just a phenomenal, those two, I'm going to just end it with those two. They are doing a phenomenal job in the community. And as Gilbert here stated, what we would like is for you to share your church so that we can highlight and spotlight them in our hot topics as uplifting and encouraging things going on within our Black church and our community. Is there anything else you want to share, Gilbert, before we close it out?
Well, I want to thank you for being a great team member with me, a great co-host. I want to thank you for all that you do, but I especially want to thank our viewers. We'll be back with you next week, same time, same channel.
Same channel. And we want you to stay safe, and we encourage you to tune in next week to us. Meantime, spread kindness and keep the faith. See you next time. What you do? The thumbs up. Put your thumbs up again. Let them see your thumbs up. I've been trying to learn how to do the. How do you do?
All right. Hey.
Do the,
or do you want me to Millie rock?
Oh, I can't really. Okay. It seems like you're throwing your hands like in some kind of way. I don't know. But what is it saying? Is it saying Jesus? I don't know.
I don't know what it's saying.
So